Alright boys, today we're turning a pile of dead drill bits into a Damascus pattern knife. Yes, actual Damascus, not that fake stuff you see on Instagram. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the madness. The plan: pack the bits with powder into a steel canister, weld it shut, heat until it glows, then hammer it flat. Simple, right? Except I've been putting this off for 3 days because my welder decided to cosplay a brick until this morning. First, the bits go in. I'm mixing sizes, some 6mm, some 12mm, because different thicknesses give you contrast in the final pattern. Now the secret sauce: steel powder, basically iron filings or atomized low-carbon steel. This fills the voids between the bits, so when we forge weld, there are no air pockets. Tap it like you're trying to wake up a teenager. Firm, but not violent. MIG weld the top cap. Full penetration, no gaps, because if air gets in during the forge, the whole thing oxidizes and you've just made a very expensive paperweight. Forge is sitting at about 1200 degrees 6. That's yellow-white heat. HSS needs this temp to move. Anything cooler, and it just laughs at your hammer. I'm stirring the coals to keep airflow even. Uneven heat, precis, uneven welds. A knife that delaminates when you're showing off at a BBQ. Pull it bright yellow. Hit it hard. The goal: collapse the canister and force the bits together. You'll hear a dull thunk when the powder compresses. That's good. If you hear a crack, you went too cold and just made shrapnel. Power hammer time. 40-pound little giant, 250 blows per minute. I'm flipping every 10 hits to keep it square. The canister's now a pancake, and the bits are starting to fuse. This is the moment where patience meets brute force, and if you rush it, the pattern just won't form right. Back to the hand hammer for the edges. Power hammer can't reach the corners, so I'm tidying up by hand. It's slower, more meticulous work, but this is where the knife starts to really take shape. Wire brush to knock off scale. This also shows me if there are any cracks or non-welds. Shiny seams are bad news. Belt sander to flatten one face. I'm checking for voids. Dark spots mean air pockets, and I'll have to grind deeper. Once it's flat and clean, I can start to make out the outlines of the individual bits. The Damascus pattern is slowly revealing itself, layer by layer, as the different alloys etch at different rates. Knife template: 20cm overall, 12cm blade, full tang. I'm drawing directly on the billet because I'm classy like that. Glasses on. I like my corneas where they are. Angle grinder with a 1mm cut-off wheel. I'm staying 2mm outside my line. Better to grind away extra than to cut short and cry. Each spark feels like a small victory as the outline of the knife emerges from the rough billet, and I make sure every stroke is deliberate to avoid mistakes. Belt sander, 60 grit, 20-degree angle per side. I'm using a rest jig to keep the angle consistent. Freehand bevels look like a drunk Picasso drew them, so I stick to the jig, watching the bevels form evenly, feeling the metal slowly take the intended shape. Dremel with a diamond burr for jimping. Those little grooves on the spine for thumb grip. Purely functional. Definitely not because I watched too many Forged in Fire episodes. Flap disc, 120 grit, to blend the bevels into the flats. The goal: no hard transitions, just smooth curves. I work slowly, checking from multiple angles, making sure every surface flows naturally into the next. Each pass removes tiny imperfections, revealing the emerging Damascus pattern beneath. hand sanding with 220, 400 grit. I'm wet sanding with WD-40 to clear the paper and show scratches. At 400, the pattern's starting to pop, revealing hints of the Damascus contrast and teasing the beauty hidden inside the metal layers. Austenitizing at 820 degrees, non-magnetic. I'm using a magnet to check. If it sticks, not hot enough. If it drops, we're golden. The metal glows faintly, signaling it's ready for the next phase, and the anticipation of the quench is building. Fast quench in warm oil, 50 degrees sky. Cold oil cracks it. Hot oil is too slow. You want that sizzle, not a gentle simmer. I carefully submerge the blade, watching the steam and bubbles rise as the steel hardens instantly. Straight into hot sand, about 200 degrees C. This is a snap temper, takes the brittleness out immediately, so it doesn't crack while cooling. Brush off the sand and spray with water and drop it to 150 degrees for a final temper, balancing hardness and toughness. Scotch Brite with water to remove any oil or scale. I scrub carefully, revealing the pristine surface ready for the chemical contrast. (10% ferric chloride solution, 3x 30-second dips. The high-carbon bits etch dark. The mild steel stays light. That's your Damascus contrast. Buffing wheel with white compound. The pattern's now a mix of matte black and mirror silver. Looks like a topographic map made of murder. Brass guard, 3mm sheet, 4cm x 2cm. I'm marking the tang slot with the blade itself. Perfect fit, no math required. Drill a pilot hole, then file to shape. Brass is soft, so this goes quick. The slot should be snug. If it rattles, it'll loosen and start mocking you over time. I file carefully and test fit constantly, making sure this tiny piece of metal behaves, because nothing ruins a knife faster than a guard with an attitude. Quick heat to 600 degrees cc, hammer over the anvil horn to curve it. Water quench to lock the shape. The brass glows, bends easily, and snaps into the intended curve, ready to complement the blade ergonomically and aesthetically. Sand to 400 grit, buff to a mirror. Brass polishes fast. Don't overdo it or you'll round the edges. Take your time, carefully working every surface, watching it gleam and reflect light like liquid gold. Each pass enhances the shine, revealing subtle curves and highlights. Slide it on. Perfect fit. If it's too tight, file the slot. Too loose, peen the tang to spread it. Adjust carefully, making sure the guard sits flush and stable. Walnut scales, 10cm x 3cm x 1cm. Drill for the tang, rough shape with the grinder. I carefully select pieces of wood with rich, lively grain, envisioning how they will feel in my hand once shaped and finished. Angle grinder with a flap disc to carve the ergonomics. I'm going for a slight palm swell. Feels better in hand. like it was made for a firm grip. Every contour is tested against my fingers, every curve pressed and adjusted until the handle feels like an extension of my hand. This is where the knife stops being just metal and becomes a tool you trust instinctively, ready for action without a second thought. Cut the tang flush with the handle. I'm leaving 2mm proud so I can peen it over as a mechanical lock. Small details like this make all the difference in durability and safety. West System 105-205 epoxy. 5-minute working time, 6-hour cure. Slather it on the tang, slide the scales, clamp. Make sure the glue is spread evenly to prevent voids and ensure a strong bond. This step might be invisible in the final product, but it's what keeps the handle secure through years of heavy use. Once cured, sand the handle to 600 grit. Oil with tongue oil. 3 coats, 24 hours between. The wood comes alive, deepening in color and texture with each layer. 220, 400, 600 grit. The walnut's grain is popping. Dark chocolate with lighter streaks. I run my fingers over it, enjoying the smoothness like it just survived a war, and smirk at how a chunk of wood now looks fancier than most knives I've ever held. Tongue oil, wipe on, wipe off. This seals the wood and makes it water resistant. The handle now feels luxurious, protective, and ready for years of use. From a handful of dead drill bits to a Damascus blade that cost me about $15 in materials and 8 hours of my life. Not bad. Sharpness test. Slices printer paper like it owes me money. Edge is holding at 60 HRC. Plenty hard. Every cut feels surgical, precise, and a little terrifying. Like the knife knows exactly what it's doing. Plastic bottle. Clean cut. No binding. This thing slices like it's got a personal vendetta. I watch it tear through like it's enjoying itself. Proof that the hours of work paid off perfectly. If you made it this far, hit subscribe. Tell me in the comments what scrap I should forge next. And remember, if it's dumb but it works, it's still dumb. You just got lucky.